Sugar is bad. Sugar is a drug. Sugar is bad for kids and causes them to go crazy. We've all heard of these things, right? But what if they aren't completely true? We've heard these statements until they've been ingrained into our brains. And if they're not completely true, what are we believing in? In my studies as an exercise physiology major, and for my personal training certificate, I've learned that there are a lot of misconceptions that we, as the general public, believe and accept. One of these misconceptions is that sugar only has detrimental effects and should be completely avoided. We can't let these commonplace misconceptions rule our lives and direct all of our actions. We need to know all of the facts before we decide. That's why I'm going to give you all of the facts about sugar, the good and the bad, so that you can decide for yourself what you think. So sugar does have negative aspects. For instance, one of the most irrefutable negatives about table sugar is that it causes dental caries. More than 80% of the world's population deals with dental caries, and almost a quarter of adults in the U.S. have untreated caries, according to statistics published in the Advances in Nutrition journal. Dental work is costly and not always covered by insurance, and is obviously not the most pleasant thing to endure. With that being said, the World Health Organization has given recommendations that we should keep our added sugar intake to less than 10% of our energy intake. They haven't said we should cut it out, they just said we should limit it. Another well-known effect of sugar is that it can cause type 2 diabetes. So there have been strong links to support this statement, and it has been recommended to keep our sugar intake under 10%. However, in this case, correlation does not imply causation. Sugar itself does not cause diabetes. It is the overuse of sugar combined with other unhealthy living habits like lack of exercise and obesity, as well as other genetic components, and those can lead to type 2 diabetes. So while the Diabetes Care Journal has established a link and has noted an association between sugar and diabetes, it is not the only factor at play, and sugar does not cause diabetes. It is suggested, however, that individuals with type 2 diabetes steer away from table sugar and steer towards artificial sweeteners just because it helps their glucose levels. We've also heard that kids shouldn't eat too much sugar because they become hyperactive, and that sugar after a certain time of night isn't good because you won't be able to fall asleep and you'll become too active. In all of my research, however, I couldn't find a single study to support this statement. I could, however, find countless articles refuting this statement. This is an excerpt from a study published in The Psychological Record. In a double-blind controlled trial over 9 consecutive weeks, the families of 25 normal preschool children and 23 school-age children who were described as sugar-sensitive followed a diet high in sucrose with no artificial sweeteners, followed by a diet low in sugar but high in aspartame, and then followed a diet low in sugar with saccharin. The children were measured and scored on numerous behavioral and cognitive measures. The researchers found that for the children described as sugar-sensitive, there were no significant differences among the 3 diets in any 39 behavioral and cognitive variables. And other studies have been done as well, all of which kind of debunk the myth that sugar causes hyperactivity. It's just a myth that we've all grown up thinking, so it's what we believe now. Sugar has also been thought of as an addictive substance. However, just as with the previous theory, research has debunked this theory as well. One journal article published in July of 2017 says, claims about the addictiveness of sugar, however, are based largely on findings from very few animal studies, whereas there is a lack of direct human evidence for symptoms of sugar-related substance dependence. So again, significant research has been shown that there isn't a reliable link to prove that sugar is addictive. It is just another myth that tries to demonize sugar. And now sugar does have positive effects. Sugar has been actually shown to increase athletic performance. Glucose fuels the body better than any other fuel source. Why do you think that professional athletes will eat candy bars or applesauce before a game or a match? It's because they're filled with sugar, and that helps their bodies optimally perform. And it has also been shown that sugar can increase cognition. Glucose is the main fuel source for the brain. The brain can only use glucose and ketones, which can be dangerous for the body, and so we need glucose to fuel our brain. The British Journal of Nutrition states, "A glucose load acutely facilitates mental performance, particularly on demanding long-duration tasks." So it can actually help us with our cognition. There are a lot of different aspects to sugar, and many of the theories we've all heard up growing are untrue. Now, I'm not saying all of this to condone or promote a high candy diet or high cookie diet, because those things are not healthy for your body. All I'm saying is that sugars in other things like bread or fruit shouldn't necessarily be avoided. Sugars in yogurt, for instance, are not necessarily bad. They can be just as beneficial. So we can't believe everything that we hear. Yes, there are some detriments to sugar, but conversely, there are also benefits. Sugar isn't as bad as people make it out to seem, and it shouldn't be unnecessarily demonized. I hope now that I have given you the facts that are needed for you to make an informed decision on your own about your own sugar intake. For me, I choose to consume sugar while remembering, at the same time, that there should be moderation in all things.